This is the Kokomo Post Podcast. This is your number one source for all things Kokomo.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Kokomo Post Podcast. I'm Pam Downing, and this is my co-host, Erin Larison.
Hey.
We are so excited that you have chosen to join us today. I want to get right into the show and introduce our guest to you. With us today, we have Shannon Anthony. He is the founder of Breakskate, a roller dancing group that climbed to fame on the MTV hit show America's Best Dance Crew, as well as So You Think You Can Dance. You may have heard of that. And then in later years, Shannon is back here in Kokomo. He built several companies, including what you may be most familiar with, our beloved Gravity Trampoline Park. So Shannon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, we are so glad to have you here. And I'm excited to dive into your story. I just told you before we started recording, but personally, we don't know you all that well.
Right.
I think we, at some point when we were filming Kokomo Post Tries, I said, gosh, I remember I interviewed Shannon a couple times when I was at a reporter at the newspaper. And other than that, man, I'm excited to just know sort of your story, your journey, where you've been, and like, how'd you get to this point?
I've had an exciting life. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So many questions. So thanks again for being here.
Yeah.
Anytime.
So, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk to us from the beginning.
Okay.
Where are you from?
It was a Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Kokomo. I graduated from Kokomo High School, 2001. My adolescent years, I lived in Greentown, so raised by my grandparents. Grandparents got a divorce, moved to Kokomo, and that's when I started going to Maple Crest. Went to Boulevard, Maple Crest, downtown campus, and then finished at Kokomo High School, Hayworth, or whatever they call it nowadays.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, out on Lincoln.
So you are a Kokomo kid through and through.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So, I mean,
And that's it. And then
And
you
that's
opened
it.
a trampoline park.
Yeah.
Well,
At the age of 9, my grandmother started dating the owner of the roller skating rink here in town. So that's how I actually got into skating. So I started skating every day, quite a bit. I wasn't that good. I was 9 years old. Over the next few years, since I was there all the time, I started getting pretty good. And then I met some of the other guys from Breakskate, and we started traveling around to different towns. We would go skating in Frankfort one weekend, and Marion and another weekend. We used to have a map in my bedroom of the state of Indiana, and we had all the skating rinks marked out. And we would take a dart, and we would throw it at the map, and wherever it landed, hey, that's where we're going to go skating this weekend.
And how old are you at this point?
14, 15.
Okay.
Yeah. My best friend, Jesse, he was older than me, so he had a vehicle. So we got to travel. He would drive us, and we would go to random rinks, and we would, it was a social life. So we'd we'd try to meet girls,
Sure.
and it got into a competitive aspect of roller skating. So like I could tell, like just by looking at somebody and how they skate, I could say, well, that person's from Marion, or that skater grew up in Anderson.
Wow.
Or
Like from what? What would they do? that
like
was
their
different?
style.
Okay.
Just their style. And so it ended up being, we would just travel around, and we got better and better and better as time went on. And in 2004, I don't know how old I was in 2004, but we got a call from Ball State University, and they wanted us to do a halftime show for their college basketball game. And we thought, man, that's great. That's a dream come true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like these small town, Kokomo just grew up in the rink, causing trouble, traveling around meeting girls. Now we get to do a halftime show. So we did that, and it just so happened that the guy that called us from Ball State, he went to college with the game operations guy from the Indiana Pacers.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
So one thing rolled into another. In 2004, 2005, we did every Indiana Pacers home game. And we were, we were called the Indiana Pace Skaters, which is kind of weird name, but because they didn't want to use Breakskate, our name.
Okay.
And that's kind of how we got started in our big business NBA halftime shows. the following year, we signed a contract with the NBA, and we did all 30 NBA teams.
Really?
Yeah, so that's how we started in the entertainment aspect. But before that, we was going around for years just doing competitions. Like when we would do, we would go around to the rinks in Indiana, we would hear about, oh, well, they've got a competition in Illinois this weekend. And in 3 weeks, they're doing a competition in Atlanta. And like, you guys want to go? We literally went to everything we could. If we thought it was going to benefit us.
You're just like, yes.
Yeah.
And we thought that there was a chance that we would get seen by somebody or something. We were just, let's do it. Let's put all of our money together. Let's travel. Let's all stay in the same room, sleeping on the floors.
Sure.
And everything. I mean, we were young and traveling.
So you're in your early 20s, and are you all just kind of working jobs to pay the bills and enough to travel together? Mm-hmm. And okay, I want to back up just a little bit because I want to hear about, did you meet these guys as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old at the skating rink? I mean, these are lifers. These are lifelong friends.
I'd say 12, 13, 14 years old is when we met the Kokomo crew.
And how many?
4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah, the Kokomo 5 is what they called us. And that's when we kind of came up with the name Break Skate, is because our style was a little bit differently. We were interested in breakdancing. We were breakdancers.
Yeah.
And we started breakdancing on roller skates.
Yeah.
So that's why we came up with the name. Well, let's call ourselves Break Skate. And it stuck with us, and it fit us. And so that's how it happened. It happened really fast.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, the whole thing it happened so fast, and some of it's even hard for me to remember. I feel like I've done so much in my life that like I forget.
Yeah.
I forget, like, when me and the guys get together, something will bring up, like, hey, do you remember when we did this? Damn, I do remember that.
It's in there somewhere.
It's in there somewhere. I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
It's surreal. And in this, we haven't even got to the TV shows and traveling the world and anything yet.
Yeah. Because I brought us back. Okay, so then let me bring us back. You were talking about you signed a contract with the NBA, and you did all 30 teams.
Yep, all 30 NBA teams.
Okay.
And we were traveling around, and then we would start block booking. So like if the Sacramento Kings would call us to do a halftime show, we would have the Sacramento Kings fly us out, and we would do their show for a little bit cheaper, and because they paid for airfare and stuff for 5 of us. And we would go, and then we would try to book like the Portland Trailblazers.
Sure.
Like 2 or 3 days afterwards.
Yeah.
So then we'd have 2 shows, and then we would call every college in between those 2 cities. So then we was doing like our big shows in front of 16, 20,000 people at NBA arenas. But then on our way to the next NBA show, we would stop off and do Oregon State University.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And smaller colleges, small ones, and then Division I, Division II. And so we, probably 3 years, I mean, we all made a living by doing halftime shows. I mean, we were doing 80 games a season.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in, like, it sounds like there was kind of a shift that started happening between like, let's do what we can and have fun, to now this is like, this is strategic. This is smart. This is working smarter, not like, harder. We're on the West Coast. How do we use our time wisely?
Also like full-time job. Rather than it sounds like
now I was as soon as I graduated high school, I started working at a machine shop here locally. And the reason why I wanted to work at a machine shop is because I wanted to build my own roller skates.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of fueled my trying to learn a skill trade.
Okay.
And I ended up building my own roller skates, and we started that company. It was called Core Skates, C-O-R-E, Core Skates, and it lasted a few years. It was a successful company in my mind. I didn't start the company to be financially successful. I started it to be able to say, I roller skate at the level I do on my own skates.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the company was not a financial success by any means. But I think it was a success because I accomplished my goal.
Yeah.
I set out to build my own skates, and I was skating on them, and the rest of the guys were skating on them as well. And we were skating on this high level. But in that process, I was working in a machine shop, and then I hired into General Motors for skilled trades. So I went to an apprenticeship there. I worked there for 8 years, and then I was doing halftime shows and traveling and performing all over the country during that time frame. So I was always taking off work, trying to take off a Friday so we could be gone on the weekends, and go perform and things like that. And then in 2008, I was still employed at GM, and that's when we got a call from MTV.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to go there yet, but that's how that happened.
I mean, I think that's a huge part of your story.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep going.
So it was 2008. We were from 2004 to 2008. We were doing halftime shows in the NBA quite a bit, and we didn't know how MTV heard of us. And it comes to find out, we were doing a Lakers halftime show, and somebody in the audience saw us and gave us a call and said, "Hey, we've got this new show coming out. It's produced by Randy Jackson," and the show didn't even have a name yet. We didn't know what network it was going to be. It was somebody from Viacom that called us, and we didn't know what network it was going to be on. We didn't know who bought the show, what the name was, or anything. But it was Randy Jackson, and he was trying to start the show. And a few months went by, and we ended up getting more calls, and they flew us out there to do some interviews and to see if we were going to be a fit. And we actually didn't make it. And they called us and said, it's not going to fit our show. And we were all bummed. We thought it was our huge break.
Of course, yeah.
And I think in between that time, that's when we did, Roll Bounce came out in 2005. So, see, it's just things like that I'm...
Timeline.
Roll Bounce was 2005, and we did the stunt skating in Roll Bounce. We didn't have any on camera in Roll Bounce, but we did behind the scenes the skating, and that was the biggest thing we had done at that time.
Yeah.
So we had been familiar with going out to LA, and we didn't have any money. I mean, just because you're doing things like that doesn't mean that you have enough money to fly to LA all the time and meet with agents and things like that. We weren't at that level yet, but we always had dreams. We wanted to be. Yeah. And so when they called us for the America's Best Dance crew, we actually didn't make it, and we sat for 2 months, kind of like moping around, like going back to doing halftime shows, and because it got to the point to where our first halftime show, it was like, yes, it's amazing, but then after you do it for 4 years, you get the call from the Miami Heat, and you're like, guys, you want to go to Miami this weekend? Like, do you want to do this show or not? And, it's like it wasn't. We had reached the point to where we had made it in the NBA. So now what else can we do?
Yeah. Right. What's next?
And we've always thought that, especially me personally. What's next? Everything is a challenge.
Yeah.
If I'm not challenged, then I don't want anything to do with it. It's not going to pique my interest. And it's the same with Gravity now. So I'm constantly updating. I'm constantly doing things. I don't know what's going to work, what's not going to work, but at least I'm going to try.
Yeah.
But so back then, 2 months went by, and we got another call, and they said, "Hey, we are going to bring you guys in." Okay. So out of I think it was 100 crews, maybe 110, 120, 9 crews made it to the final TV show, and everybody else were dancers. Every group was dancers, but us. We were roller skaters first, and then did a lot of dancing aspects and adding to it. Everybody else grew up dancing. They grew up in a dance studio. Sure. We grew up in the local roller rink. With we didn't have choreographers. Nobody was teaching us anything. Yeah. So we were teaching ourselves and learning off of each other. And just building the group up. And by this time, it wasn't just the Kokomo crew. In 2008, we had gotten several members from other states, from Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio. Break skate at one time, we had maybe 25 people.
Wow. Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And that was when we were doing competitions nationwide.
Sure.
We would all get together. We would, if the competition was in Orlando, we would have skaters from Wisconsin and Illinois come down and meet in Kokomo, and then we'd rent 15 passenger vans, and then we would all travel together down to Kokomo, or down to Orlando from Kokomo, and we would stay there for 3 or 4 days, do the competitions and stuff, and then all drive back. It was an educating experience. I would not be where I am today if I didn't travel with those group of people, because you learn a lot.
Okay,
you learn a lot traveling.
Like what types of things?
Different experiences.
Okay.
You learn that the world is a lot bigger than just Kokomo.
Yeah.
And it's problem solving. Here in Kokomo, you got family and stuff.
Yeah.
When you're traveling at a young age,
sure.
Yeah.
You rely on each other. Mm-hmm. And we would go to, sometimes we would stay at like not so good hotels.
Yeah.
Because that's all we could afford. We'd even all put our money together, and we'd be like at a bad part of town.
Sure.
And things like that. So, you learn.
Yeah. Well, and young listener or viewer, this is 2008.
Yeah. And America's Best Dance Crew was 2008.
And maybe one of you had a smartphone at this time.
Maybe.
Like we are still pre Google Maps in our hands. Like this is still, traveling is a different experience. The
MapQuest.
Right.
Yeah.
You're printing it out.
Printing it out, MapQuest, or we had one of the big maps, you'd flip through.
So like the Yelp.
You have to go to the gas station.
Yeah.
Go to the gas station in town and say, hey, where's your skating rink at?
Right. And there's no Yelp reviews to see what side of town you're staying on. You're gambling, and hopefully you get a decent hotel and you have a safe place to spend the night.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm hearing from just from this seat in this podcast over the last 3 or 4 interviews that we've done, there continues to be sort of this common theme of, the Kokomo kid. And I think there's something, and I'm curious if you've been noticing this, but like there's this sort of seed in many people who've sat in the seat, and it's, I'm going to scrap and figure it out and teach myself. And like, I'm finding so many parallels with a few of the last podcasts that we've recorded in hearing, I'm wondering what it is about Kokomo that has created young people, entrepreneurs, folks who are changing the landscape of what Kokomo looks like, who have that sort of natural desire to like, I'm going to figure it out against all odds. And I wonder if that is all sort of entrepreneurs, all folks who are changing the landscape of places, or I see that so much in like the fabric of what Kokomo is I'm going to hustle and I'm going to work hard, and I might not be classically trained, right? And I might not be somebody who's had access to choreographers all the time, but like, damn it, I'm going to hustle and I'm going to get there.
Maybe there's something in the water.
Maybe
it's the water. I mean, I really am curious what it is.
Well, I mean, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, Elwood Haynes. And,
your class of 2001, that graduating class.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
That's got a ton of entrepreneurs in that class.
And all in different areas, right? It's not like, wow, this class produced a ton of chefs. Like you all have your own niche. So
well, I think for me, it was, if I wanted to have anything that I knew I had to go out and get it myself.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up wealthy by any means. I had a grandfather that had money. He worked at General Motors, for several years. But if I wanted nice things, I had to go out and figure out how to do it. And it was a challenge. Everything was a challenge. Now, some people shy away from that challenge, and other people, they strive on it.
Yeah. And I don't think I asked this before. Do you have brothers and sisters?
No.
Okay.
No, but I was raised by my grandparents. So my aunts are like my sisters.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, is that something that is common to your family? Do you, sort of that idea of like, I got to go for it. I got to do it. I got to make it happen.
they're not risk takers like me.
Huh.
They get nervous, and I strive on it.
Yeah.
I strive on being uncomfortable in situations.
Interesting.
I want to go back and talk about America's Best Dance Crew. You were one of 9. And then take us from there to So You Think You Can Dance. And then I'm so curious about the bridge from those things to entrepreneur in Kokomo, multiple businesses, and then why I want to get to Gravity.
Well, America's, or So You Think You Can Dance and America's Got Talent and Disney's Shake It Up, and those type of shows, they were several years after America's Best Dance Crew. That was the big, America's Best Dance Crew was the big one.
Okay.
That was the life-changing one.
And the town, I was so, at that time, I mean, just so behind you guys. And so it was, I remember being in the newsroom at the Tribune, and we would all like stay up late and talk about it the next day. And we, you know, someone would ask what story I was working on or whatever, and someone would say Breakskate, and the whole newsroom would say Breakskate, like together. It was sort of this amazing thing to see the community really.
The whole town got behind us, and really the whole Midwest of the United States.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I couldn't go out to eat.
Yeah.
Here in Kokomo.
Really?
Yeah. It was sometimes, and not just here in Kokomo, but sometimes, I mean, you can only take so much.
Sure.
You can only take so much of walking through the airport. Like, I don't know how people like Britney Spears. Like, I can see why they shave their head and go crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Even with just a small sliver.
Yeah, even with just a small sliver. And I mean, I wasn't even at that level. But America's Best Dance Crew was the number 1 rated show on MTV at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was, what was that show? The Hills?
Yeah.
It was The Hills with what, like Hayden Panettiere or something like that? Yeah.
Somebody.
That was Lauren Conrad, The Hills.
Okay. Okay, so
Lauren Conrad, Kristen Cavallari. Yeah,
it was all day long. The Hills, America's Best Dance Crew, and then Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like those were the 3 shows. I mean, it was life-changing. So we went out to L.A., and we lived there for 3 months filming the show. We filmed every week, and we got a new challenge on, I think it was Tuesdays, and we had 3 days to come up with a new dance routine, come up with a new routine, and then we would film, and then it would air the following day. We weren't allowed to have our phones,
right?
Because I mean, America was voting,
right?
So we couldn't like we couldn't tell our families, hey, we got voted off, or we couldn't keep in contact with our families at all. They took our phones, and we couldn't do anything about it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we lived in a hotel. We were on lockdown. We would take 15 passenger vans from the hotel to Sony Studios, and that's all we did all day was rehearse and film and interviews. And we didn't know how big it was.
Right.
We had no clue. We were just on this TV show. We didn't realize the ratings we were getting.
Yeah.
You know, so when we got off of the TV show after 3 months, and we got fourth place. We were put out by Cabo Modern, which they were all an awesome dance crews. I mean, we're talking top of the country right now.
Yeah, right.
And of course, Jabberwockies won. Guys with the white mask.
Yep.
You know, they have their own Vegas show now. And when we got off of that show, we couldn't do anything. We didn't realize how popular we were.
Yeah.
We couldn't walk down Hollywood Boulevard. We couldn't go out to eat. We couldn't walk through the airport. And it was, individually, we might have been able to do that. We could not go anywhere as a group.
Together.
Yeah. And it's not as if you were going, like, you're not roller skating through the airport. Like, you're you know.
And that's the crazy thing is, at the end of the day, we're roller skaters. And we had fans that maybe never skated in their life. Because of the personalities. The America's Best Dance Crew Season 1 was the best season because it focused not only on the dances, but also the personalities of the dance crews.
Right.
Every season after that kind of let that fall a little bit. And they focused just strictly on the dancing. And the American audience didn't get to learn about or feel like they know the crew themselves.
Sure. And the story.
And the story behind it. And our story was, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, just a small group of kids that grew up in a local roller rink in Kokomo, Indiana, and then they're performing in front of 20,000 at an NBA arena, and now live every weekend in front of millions.
Yeah. Right.
So after America's Best Dance Crew, we were still touring, but we stopped doing halftime shows for several years.
Okay.
We were doing bigger things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were doing bigger things. We did the Bonnie Hunt show. We did several other TV shows. We did go to China. We did China's Got Talent as a guest. We were not competing at this point again. And then America's Best Dance Crew called and said, we're going to put together a tour. And we're going to go around the country for 3 or 4 months, and we're going to put a 2-hour stage show together. And so we flew back out to LA, and we created this show for like 3 weeks with all the other some of the other dance crews. It was after season 2 at this time.
Okay.
Because it was us, Jabberwockies, and then the winners of season 2, Super Crew, they were on the tour as well. And then we were, so Jabberwockies and Break Skate was the headlining acts. Even though we didn't win, we got 4th place, but we were so popular that we headlined the tour with Jabba.
Yeah.
And even Super Crew, who won season 2, they didn't headline either. So it was us and Jabba, and we traveled around the country. And then if we were in like Boston, then we would, or I say we, but MTV would bring in those dance crews that just so happen to be in that area.
Got it. Okay.
So
cool.
we actually did all the cities that we did. I think it was 35 cities in 2 months. Wow. So we lived on tour buses. We had 4 tour buses and I think 3 semis at all time with staging and everything. And it was crazy because like Tina Turner would be having a concert one night and then the following night we were there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like crazy. And like they were loading out and like our semis was loading in at the time. And it was life in the fast lane.
Right.
Yeah, what does that do to your head as now you're a 20, mid to late 20s?
Yeah, 25. I was 25 on the TV show.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, what does that do to your head as a 25-year-old? I mean, to go from you know, we're here in small town Kokomo to like Tina Turner one night and you the next night.
Well, and we did it. We were all best friends. I mean, we ate together. You know, we were constantly together, nonstop. We would argue together, argue with each other.
Yeah.
You know, and it was all, everybody had great ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody really had bad ideas, and every single one of us wanted what was best for the crew. So even if we did have disagreements, which we did all the time, we all knew at the end of the day, it's because each individual wanted what was best for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But as far as what it does to your head, it definitely changes things. It makes you look at things differently.
Yeah.
I would not, I feel like I was an actual celebrity for probably 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
It's not something that I would ever want to do again. Yeah.
Say more on that.
I mean, like I said, I couldn't go out to eat.
Yeah.
I couldn't go out to eat. It was constantly pictures and autographs and stuff, which we still do autographs and pictures and all that. And I mean, we can do it for 2 hours after a show.
Yeah.
And that's no problem. That's something that we signed up for. We knew that was coming. But the people that are taking photos of you while you're eating,
Yeah.
you know, and things like that, that's stuff you don't sign up for.
Yeah.
And it's the sense of, you know, privacy and
It
loss
is.
of privacy or just like.
It is. But then again, you think, you know, the average person, most people never get to meet anybody that they've ever saw on TV.
Right.
So even though we're not Tom Cruise, you know, but we're still somebody that's on TV. And when we meet people, they were ecstatic. They wanted pictures. They wanted autographs and everything. And it's just crazy that at the end of the day, we were roller skaters. Yeah. We were roller skaters just trying to make it. We had dreams. We knew that we wanted to make it, but we didn't even know what making it was. Nobody had done this before us, so there was nobody for us to follow.
Right. That's such a great point because, if you're a young singer, you have countless of...
You know what you should do, or you can ask people, what do you do? You can't go out and ask, hey, how can I be a professional roller skater?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it doesn't happen. And even if you are one of the top skaters in the country, well, how do you make money at it?
Yeah.
We turned it into a business. We turned our passion into a business.
Man.
So after America's Best Dance Crew, we toured for probably 2-3 years, doing college shows, stage shows. We toured with MTV, living on tour buses, and then America's Got Talent called and wanted us to compete. Mm-hmm. And we said, no, we'll come on the show, but we're not going to compete.
Yeah.
And so we actually did an episode as like a guest performance. And then the following year, I think we did compete, but we told them that we had to come in. We weren't coming in at the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah, we wanted to come in like the semifinals. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they let us do it.
And what's the reasoning behind that? I guess to somebody who is sort of watching, right? America's Got Talent calls and says, "Will you compete?" What's the reason for a no on that?
We already felt it wasn't going to benefit us.
Okay.
We felt at the time to where we already had a name. We were a household name at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would hurt our business if we went on America's Got Talent and got our ass whooped, by a violinist or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of thinking. Well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do anything that hurts our business.
Yeah.
I mean, because at the end of the day, it's TV.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's ratings. Mm-hmm. Ratings is what they want.
Yeah.
So, gosh, you weren't kidding when you said you've lived a lot of life.
Yeah.
So I'm so curious, Shannon. I mean, you've probably seen. Have you seen all 50 states? Like you've toured the country.
Mm-hmm. And internationally.
Yeah, you've toured the world. You've seen so many things. You've experienced so many things, and I'm sure there's a lot of gaps to fill in here. But now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'd love to hear. How'd you guys decide to sort of get off that roller coaster of touring, performing, and then come and settle back here?
And here you are. Yeah.
Well, some of the guys never came back from LA.
Okay. They're still there.
Yeah.
Got it.
Some of the guys. So 2008, America's Best Dance Crew, they left Kokomo and never came back.
Okay.
And I mean, they still have family here.
Sure.
And things. But I had family that, I had a girlfriend at the time, and Kokomo life doesn't bother me. I love it. It's a slower paced atmosphere. Mm-hmm. I can't take LA traffic every day. I don't know anybody
Sure.
There's people out there that choose to go through that.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And it's hectic. It's a hassle. I don't care what it is. Anything you want to do is a hassle.
Sure. Yep. You want a sandwich? It's a hassle.
It's a hassle.
Yep.
So
Kokomo's not that way, and that's why I prefer the slower paced life.
Mm-hmm. And it's home.
It is.
Yeah.
It is home.
So here you are. You're back in Kokomo. Not everyone came back to Kokomo. Some of you did. You're back in Kokomo, and you have several skill sets. Mm-hmm. And you're a business owner.
Yep.
And you own several businesses, but one of them is really unique to Kokomo and really gave Kokomo something that the community had been, I don't know, asking for, or
I would say that there was a hole in the.
There was a hole. There was
sure.
a gap to be filled.
Yeah, there was.
For me, I've always filled in that gap, maybe with my own narrative, but looking at like, hey, there's a roller rink when you were a kid, right?
Yeah,
That was like
there was an indoor, fun, safe place to go.
And it got hit by a tornado.
Yeah, right.
The first one, there was two. We had two at one time, a north one and a south one. I started skating at the south one.
Mm-hmm. South one's where Treasure Mart is now, is that right? Okay. I've heard the legend.
Yeah.
Started skating there, and then the owner, it was a husband and wife named Burl and Red Hinkle, who owned the two rinks in town. And my grandmother dated their son.
Okay.
That's kind of how I got into it. But the old man, Red, he passed away. And, I mean, I think they might have been in their 80s then. So he kind of like ran the south one, and the wife ran the north one. So when he passed away, I think they sold the south one, and then they just kept the north one up for a few years, and then it got hit by a tornado. Yeah. So that was part of the reason why we traveled. We were skating all the time.
Sure.
We were skating all the time every weekend, and then the place that we called home, it was gone.
Yeah.
In the blink of an eye over a weekend. Well, nowhere to skate anymore. So let's go to Frankfurt. Let's go to Marion. Let's go to Anderson, Indy. And so it kind of forced us. It forced us to broaden ourselves, broaden our travels, and go out there.
So was there a piece of that, of sort of looking at that gap in Kokomo when you came back and you sort of resettled here? Was there a piece of that said, "Hey, I think I can provide something like that"? I mean,
there always was. Growing up, I always wanted to own a roller skating rink. I mean, I thought that was my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Was to own a roller skating rink. The problem is that roller skating rinks don't make that much money.
Yeah.
They're hard, and it has nothing to do with profit. Roller skating rinks don't pay for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's rinks nationwide shutting down.
Yeah.
All the time, because it's not the 1970s.
Yeah.
There's way more to do now than in the 1970s. It was the roller skating was the thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't alive in the 70s, but I was born in '83. But all the movies and everything, it's about roller skating in the 70s, disco skating in the 70s and stuff. So I always wanted to do it. So there came a time to where I was able, I was talking to a bank here in town, and I felt confident that I was going to be able to get financing for a large project. I was going to do like a 50,000 square foot building. I was going to do maybe 12 lanes of bowling, go-karts, roller skating rink, trampoline park, and I was going to do it in front of McGonagall's on 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And the city wouldn't zone it because it was too close to the new highway.
Okay.
So right around that time that I found out that I wasn't going to be able to do that project, MC Sports was going out of business at the mall.
Gosh, that was what was there.
Yeah, MC Sports was going out of business the wrong time, that right time.
Yep.
And I went and looked at it, and it had high ceilings.
Because it used to be the movie theater before then, right?
Originally, it was the movie theater.
Yes. Yeah.
And then MC Sports.
It sounds like old Kokomo now. Like, didn't that used to be the movie theater?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, why can't we try this? I'm not going to be able to put everything in here. I'm not going to be able to put bowling and go-karts and everything like that. So, but it'd make a good trampoline park.
Yeah.
So I started working on it. It took us 7 months to build. I built it with me, my family, and a few of my friends. And it took twice as long to build as I thought it was going to. Because it was I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to go out and hire a company to go out and build this place. I had to do everything myself.
But also, I feel like it plays back into that. Like, I'm going to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to figure it out. And we've been open 3.5 years now, and we just went through a big renovation. And I'm excited to have something like that in Kokomo for the community.
Well, and that's sort of where this conversation came from, right? Because if you guys haven't seen it, and we'll link it in the notes below, but we got to come out and do an episode of Kokomo Post Tries, and we just sort of called you up and said, "Hey, Shannon, we heard you're making some renovations. No, you're not open yet. Would you let us come out and harness up and try the ropes course and do all the stuff?" But in the talking about this, what came up was, again, I love getting to interview people who are sitting in this seat who probably could have the choice to do what you do in a different city and make more money. And yet you
big
are
market.
choosing to do this in Kokomo for your hometown. And what you said was, and I'd love you to talk more about it, but you said, like, hey, people are taking their hard-earned dollars and they're going down to Hamilton County to go and have fun. And that benefits no one. It doesn't benefit the community. It doesn't, like, I want to give this to Kokomo. This isn't a place where, you sort of said everything I get from this, I reinvest, right? And so talk more about that idea.
Well, when I first built the place, I didn't know if it was going to be successful or not, but I had to try. 20% of all startups don't last past the first year.
Right.
50% of new businesses don't last 5 years.
Yep.
Let alone a new concept. Trampoline parks are new.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe in the last 5 years. I mean, they're really new in the last 5 years. I mean, I think Sky Zone, they've been out maybe 8 or 9 years.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, as far as a business of that size, trampoline park, Kokomo's a small market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And especially when you're at the mall.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
With large overhead.
Yes.
It's a small market. But I said to myself and my family and my friends, I said, if it makes money, great. If it don't, it don't. Well, I mean, all you can do is try.
Yeah.
So if it don't, you try something else afterwards.
Yeah. Once again, I'm hearing that, like, figure it out spirit. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I'm loving is this idea that, like, if we don't have it, why not? It's not because we don't deserve it. And, it's easy to hear conversations of, like, oh, wow, our community's so boring. Or like, we don't have this. Look at this other community that has that thing. Guess we got to go over there. And that, like, we get a Gravity. Mm-hmm. We get, a French bakery. Like, we have these amenities. Mm-hmm. We have the ability to support and stay right here in our community and enrich our community. We don't have to leave.
Some people in Kokomo are hard to please.
True. Yes, that is true. We've experienced this today. Yes.
Give them a piece of gold at the front door and they'll complain they don't have a place to put it.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. I've come to realize it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to piss somebody off.
Right.
True.
No matter what.
True.
You're going to upset somebody. Mm-hmm. Somebody's not going to agree with you. Mm-hmm. So you try to go with the majority. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's all you can do as an entrepreneur or a business owner. You got to go with the majority. Mm-hmm. And some of the people that would complain on Facebook, I know we had a lot of pushback on our renovation, the fact that we're selling beer and wine.
Did you really?
Yes. We had a lot of pushback on that.
Interesting.
People that are complaining probably never even been there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
So...
and that there shouldn't be that there shouldn't be alcohol in a place that's for kids?
I think that's what people were thinking. Mm-hmm. That's what people were thinking. But it's not like I'm saying, hey, come get drunk, jump on a trampoline, throw up everywhere, and then drive your kids home. That's not what we're saying as a business.
Right.
We built a parents' lounge up top for parents to watch the game, and if they want to have 1 or 2 beers, that's fine.
Sure.
We're not going to let anybody get drunk.
You didn't build a tap room.
No, not at all. And I think, people don't look at the details. I think that's exactly what they want. Why does somebody need to drink alcohol? Some people can drink alcohol and, not break the law. Mm-hmm. They're they're not.
Be responsible.
Some people are responsible.
Man.
But that's just one. That's just one thing. Mm-hmm. That's just one thing that we got pushback for, and I think, we've been open 2 weekends now since we renovated. We might have sold 30 beers last weekend.
Sure. I mean,
maybe 30 this past weekend.
It's very clear, folks, when you go in. I mean, there's a wee little. I mean, it's a cooler. You have several items in there, but it's you didn't put in a bar.
Right. Right. No, it's a family entertainment center. It's not a trampoline park anymore. Mm-hmm. Before the renovation, you would go to Gravity and to jump on a trampoline or celebrate a birthday party, and that's pretty much it. If you didn't want to do those 2 things, then you didn't need to be there. Mm-hmm. Now, you can go there for 2 hours and never jump on a trampoline park or never jump on a trampoline and have a great time. We've got so much to do now.
Yeah. Right.
And yeah, I mean, Pam was flying high above everything on the ropes course. Great for kids, great for adults. I will tell you, in the last 2 weeks, there's not been a single day that my son has not said, when can we go to Gravity? Like literally every single day, multiple times a day. So it's become like his reward. They've got like one of those clip charts. And so if he gets like a certain level, then you'll
that's good.
Us.
And I'm sure a lot of kids want to go to Gravity, and we've priced it to where it's affordable for everybody.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, we have the nicest trampoline park in Indiana. We also have the cheapest.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know, Sky Zone down in Indy or Fishers or whatever, you know, $15, $18 an hour to jump. Ours is 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, but the way it's priced, there's no doubt about it. If Gravity in Kokomo at the mall was in Indianapolis or, you know, a big market, it would definitely do a lot more volume than here in Kokomo.
Right.
But I mean, I'm from Kokomo. So I wanted to do it, and it was a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't own I've owned several businesses, and I still do, but I've never owned a trampoline park. I've never owned a family entertainment center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never owned a business with that much overhead.
Right. Right.
You know, so it was new. It was scary. It's scary to do those type of ventures because it's a gamble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a risk.
It's definitely a risk, and you don't know whether that risk is going to pay off. In 2 years, 5 years, or even 10 years. You just don't know.
And that's, again, sort of a common theme I feel like we talk about is risk reward, right? When we're, you know, for you, how do you decide, and even in your time in Breakskate, right? There's risk reward to that too, right? You're away from family, you're away from people. I know, you know, you have a child as well.
He's 11. His name's London.
Yeah, right. So in some of this, you know, in touring and in being, there's some risk. How do you personally sort of decide and walk through what's worth it? What's your thought process there?
Well, when he was, I don't know, maybe when he was 8, we went down to do the Florida State Fair, and I had to be gone a month.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And when I got back, he was mad. So that's when I said, I'm not going to do that stuff again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't left. Now I've traveled all over the world, but it's only for, 7 days at a time.
Sure.
I've not left for 30 days or longer since he said that to me.
Yeah.
So, and I don't plan on it unless he's with me. Now he's getting to the age to where we can go as a family.
Sure.
You know, when I go to trade shows or I'm out doing business stuff, now it's to the point to where I can take my family and I can teach him certain things.
Does he skate? Do you teach him to skate?
He's been to Logan Sport or Marion a few times, but he's good on a trampoline.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I saw him flying through the air the other day when we were in filming, and yeah, I mean he's
fearless. He's fearless, and that's another thing I like. I like teaching my son, different things about business and entrepreneurship, even at a young age, as well as the employees at Gravity.
Yeah.
I mean, we have all young employees. It is what it is. We have 16, 17-year-old employees.
Sure.
Yeah.
People are going to say, well, what about your customer service? You can't have good customer service with 16 and 17-year-old employees.
Yes,
it's a trampoline park. You're not coming to the Hilton.
Right.
What do you expect?
Right.
I mean, we all strive to be great, but at the end of the day, it's their first job.
Yeah. Right.
Well, but there's also a piece of they're going to learn the hustle, the figure it out, let's be smart and nimble on our feet and figure out what's next. Like all of those themes that I'm hearing in this, they don't learn that from osmosis. I mean, they learn that through seeing it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it looked like so we came in and did some footage because you guys came on as a post partner. So you're partnering with one of our shows outside of this, and we came in. We were doing some filming, and it was on a friends and family night right before your opening, and it looked like there were hiccups.
There
right?
was.
It looked like there were some hiccups going on. I came in, like I do. I'm like a Labrador Retriever puppy. I was like, yay, and I'm like, Shannon's face looks like he's intent on something, right?
Yeah.
And so, and you figured out whatever that hiccup was, and I remember thinking that your whole team was incredibly responsive to just like pick up, figure out what needed to be done, ask how to be helpful to us, like work to make sure that we were taken care of, that the team was taken care of. It was just a really interesting look at business and sort of a peek back at your culture there, because everyone really was like, hey, how can I help? And they rolled with it, and they took care of you. They took care of the company. It was a really neat thing to see. And they learned that from somewhere.
Yeah, and the issue was the fact that I bought all these new arcade games and brought it to Gravity, and they all work great. And we went to a card system to where you swipe the card and be able to play the games.
Yeah.
You know, and they're set up to where you put so much money on a game card. Well, for that night, the friends and family night, I wanted the whole place packed. That way we could train our staff.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted people to be able to play the games for free. You know, the very first day, and it was all the employees' families and my family and, you know, personal friends of all the employees and stuff. Because I feel like that's a good way to train the employees.
It was awesome.
Sure.
It's a great idea.
Right.
I was having trouble letting people play the games for free. I couldn't get the games to work for free.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that was the issue, that we were trying to program the cards to be able to start the game without having to put money on the game.
Right.
And that's not something that we were planning on doing when we opened for business.
Sure.
Right.
So we didn't think it was going to be an issue. We thought it was just a click of the button. And we started working on it about 3 hours before we opened. All right, let's get the game cards up. Let's get them programmed. And that's when we ran into the issues.
Well, and for me, you know, it was such a cool thing to see. Like, that was figure it out in action on the fly as it was happening. And it was so cool to see your team sort of like work together to still provide a really great experience by the time that was needed to get the hiccup solved. Yep. And it was a neat thing that I feel like echoes back to all the things we've been talking about like, you make it work.
Yeah.
And find the next place. Yeah.
When you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, I mean, it's like getting kicked in the teeth every day when you wake up. I mean, you got to learn to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Because it's going to continue to come. There's going to be issues. I mean, you got to be a professional problem solver. And that's what I feel like I do. I solve problems.
Yeah.
For my staff, for my companies, everything. I mean, you got to solve problems.
Yeah.
And to the point where I'm good at it. I'm good at solving problems now.
Yeah. And I'm really curious, sort of, as you look back at sort of these iterations of your life from, you know, those early beginnings to touring, I'm curious for you, how has the idea of success changed over that time?
Well, first of all, success is never owned. It's rented. And rent is due every day. There's no way around it. There is somebody out there right now that wants to take everything that I have. And I have to work towards that. I have to know that. And every successful person is going to tell you that. There's people that are out there working, you know, to be in my position, just like I'm working to be in other people's position. You know, there's people out there that own 15 trampoline parks. You know, I have one.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have goals that I'm trying to accomplish. And I mean, there's other people out there that want to be in my position, and they want to just own one or start up a business or thing like that. And you got to put the work in. I mean, like I said, rent is due every day, and you got to get up and you got to do it. You can't just sit back and think that it's going to do it itself. You know, you got to get up and you got to get moving. I forget the original question, but
just curious, how has your idea of success, how success is measured? How has that changed from your time touring and skating to now owning a business, raising a family, things like that?
Well, I never looked at success as anything financial. I've never started any business strictly to make money. That's never been the goal. It's always money is an after effect. If it comes, it comes. If it don't, then we'll figure out something else. But success, I feel, is doing what you love. I work 80 hours a week, and I don't feel like I work at all because I love what I do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. That's definitely the key to doing anything is enjoying what you do, because you can work and you can put so much work and effort into it. And if you enjoy it, then I think that's where some entrepreneurs get into an issue, is because they start a business strictly to make money.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to do this business because I know it's going to be successful. And most of the time that's not the case.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I'd love to kind of get your perspective on Kokomo and our community. It's clear that this place matters to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're choosing to be here. Mm-hmm. You're choosing to raise your family here. You have roots here, history. What have you learned about our community? I guess it's like looking back at your whole life, or looking back at your experience as a business owner in the community. I guess either or. But what have you learned about our community in your journey?
Well, I mean, they're supportive when it came to break skate. There's no doubt about that. They came out and they voted, and we were popular, but it was because of the community behind us and doing all those votes every week, getting us to one of the finalists or semifinalists on America's Best Dance Crew. And I mean, they really supported us. Now, as far as Gravity goes, like I said, people are hard to please.
Yep.
And it's aggravating sometimes as a business owner to put so much time and effort and energy into it, as well as finances, putting money into projects or things, and then people still complaining. That's, and I'm not saying everybody's like that by any means.
Yeah.
And that's where Facebook and social media is a negative thing, because people feel like they can just go on there. And I mean, look at things that happen with like some of the other businesses in town, Mike's Pizza, and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what he did was right or wrong.
Sure.
Because I don't know the situation.
Right.
Chances are it was taken out of context. But that could have financially hurt that business, and maybe that's why they're not here anymore. And now I see on Facebook all the time, well, I wish we still had Mike's Pizza. When he was open, maybe you should have went more often. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard. I mean, I think
it is.
I'm learning so much in sort of this journey of, leaving my very stable job to come into this business that I've owned with my husband, but really for the most part, he was running it. Right. And I kind of dipped my toe in when I wanted to and when it was fun. And coming in and like truly owning this with him now for the last year. Oh man. Because I love it. And it's really easy for me, I would say, to be, hurt by some, nasty social media comments and people who are hiding behind a keyboard that are, it's pretty quick. It's made me think twice, 3, 4, 5 times about anything I put online, because I'm on the other side of it now. And so something I might have said as flippant or funny before, I'm really realizing that there's people and heart and time and money and resource that are all behind folks who are investing and trying to put something out into the community to shape it to make it better, right? And I feel like I'm hearing that some in
well, I mean, there's a lot of hard workers here.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of hard workers here in Howard County and even in just Indiana in general. I mean, the cost of living is low, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
Compared to other places, compared to other states.
Yeah.
For sure. $3,000-$4,000 a month for a 1-bedroom place in LA. So I mean, we don't have that issue here.
Truth.
But
plus, we've got the good ice. So I mean,
the what?
The good ice.
The good ice.
The good ice.
You don't find that everywhere you go in the country.
I've told you before. I don't think the good ice is that good.
I know really you don't.
I'm gonna get like
saw
Cocoa
you
canceled,
take rectangle ice the other day.
I like rectangle ice.
What do they call it? Like the chiblet ice?
The little.
That's a much
ice.
nicer way than what I call it.
I don't love it.
So I'd love to ask you kind of an advice question as an entrepreneur. If someone is listening or watching, and sorry, timeout. Sorry, Michael. I'll make a note here. Has that monitor, is it off or turned around? I just haven't looked at it this whole time.
No, the battery from the external is dead.
Got it. Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry, Michael. I am noting this is 104.25. If someone is asking advice on, where do I start? I want to be a business owner, or even more broadly, like I want to chase my dreams.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for them of where do you begin?
You just got to go for it. Chasing your dreams, you got to go for it. And starting a business, I recommend everything I do, I have to write down. I have to write down in front of me. I got to see it.
Okay.
And I work backwards.
Ah, interesting.
I work backwards. So what's my goal? Okay. What's it going to take me to get to that goal? What do I need to do before that? And then I break everything down into smaller projects and then accomplish it that way. I mean, I want to start a business and I want to start a trampoline park, man, that's a crazy idea.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard.
Big idea. Yeah.
But if you break that, I want to start a trampoline park down into 100 steps that's going to take to do that. And then you start accomplishing one by one, these little things. Eventually it's there.
Right.
And that's with anything,
and
whether
it's
you're
actionable.
Yeah.
It's not this pie in the sky idea. It's like, okay, today I need to call the bank.
And sometimes I think we become so paralyzed by how big an idea is that we just fail to start.
Yeah. If you break it down into smaller sections and manageable sections, then you can do it. And one thing I've learned is nobody can do everything.
Yeah.
I would not be where I'm at. Gravity wouldn't be where it's at without the people around me. I physically can't, do every aspect of everything. So that's something that I learned over time was I have to learn to delegate. Like I know people say it's weird, but, people will ask me, how much is a birthday party at Gravity? They'll message me on Facebook, and I don't really know. And the reason why, I can give you a general census. It's between $150. Our cheapest one's probably $150, and our most expensive one is $300, depending on the number of kids, number of jumpers you got, how many pizzas, and things like that.
Yeah.
But I can't give you a definite answer. I own the place. I don't work there.
Yeah.
So I have a great staff. All my managers are college students at IUK.
Yeah.
They're going to school for business or they have maybe a few different majors, but for the most part, they're college students and they're starting their journey out in life. And people like that, they strive as well when you challenge them.
Yeah.
When I shut down for renovations, I said one of the things we're going to add in the kitchen is we want to serve nachos. We didn't serve nachos before. The first 3.5 years we were open, we didn't serve nachos. And I told my staff, I said, I want to start selling nachos. And they, well, what do you want the price to be? Where do you want to buy it from? I don't know. You figure it out. You take on this little project. You come up with it. And even though they might not have had any experience on that before, it's almost a challenge to them. And I know I strive on challenges, and my staff does too. And I think most people do.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you give them a chance to rise to the occasion, you know?
And especially when you know that they're going to screw up something.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely okay. Nothing's ever perfect. So when I give my staff a challenge or something like that, there's going to be hiccups, and I get it. I don't get mad at them. They didn't do it on purpose. It's a learning curve. It's a learning process for them as well, just like it is for me.
Yeah. My husband says all the time, hire good people and then let them do their jobs.
Yeah, I don't micromanage at all.
Yeah, right. And then get out of the way to let them. But part of doing their jobs is learning to fail and learning to come back and think about it differently next time. That's awesome.
And failing is just a part of it. No one is successful 100% of the time.
Right.
I've failed at a lot of things. But it's provided me with education and experience. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. Like I said, my first company, Core Skates, financially, it was awful. But you learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I didn't take those losses, then Gravity probably wouldn't be here.
Sure.
And my other businesses wouldn't exist.
Yeah. So
it is what it is.
Well, as we kind of land the plane, we've got 2 questions that we that we ask every single guest who comes on the podcast. Again, we say every time, both equally weighty and important.
Okay.
I'll take the first one. That's the harder one for sure. Let's imagine a scenario in which you, for whatever reason, get one more meal in Kokomo. Right? We have to know, where would that Kokomo meal be, and what would that Kokomo?
A local restaurant, I assume.
Up to you. Up to you. If you would like it to be McDonald's, it's completely your call. We would pretend to not judge you.
Well, I love seafood, so I eat out quite a bit. I eat at Red Lobster quite a bit.
All right.
But I eat at places like Oscar's, Stoney's, Pizza. I eat at Ray's quite a bit. I love their tenderloins.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, places like that. Ned's Corner Pub. I eat that.
Love Ned's.
You know, when I leave the house, I'm gone most of the day. So I mean, we eat at home, but I'd say 90% of the time we're eating out somewhere, just simply because of time.
Yeah,
sure.
When
convenience,
yeah, convenience, and I'm always running between all the businesses, and I've always got something to do. You know, I don't have a 9 to 5 to where I just go home after work.
Yeah.
And turn on the TV and just relax. And eat dinner with the family.
What would that be like?
Yeah, I don't know what that's like.
I think you'd be bored. I don't. Think
Yeah, I would be bored. I have to challenge myself.
Yeah.
The winter is a hard time for me. But yeah, I eat at a lot of local places.
So if you had to pick one, just one, what's your?
If I had to pick one,
Yes.
man, I feel like that question is like in the movies, like when somebody's like on death row and they're like,
that is this question.
That is
Shannon.
really this
That is
question.
what is your last
What's your death row meal?
What's my
Yeah.
death row meal?
And I will even add
your
into this.
Kokomo death row.
You could bring back, if you wanted to, because you sort of referenced it.
Sure.
If you want to bring back whatever Captain's Cove was, people talk about that a lot. People talk about country catfish, which I never went to.
I ate there.
R.I.P. country cat.
So we should add into this, like, it's like who would you
Could
have
be
dinner
any
with, dead or alive? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
that. Current or past? I made it harder. Last Kokomo meal.
Death row, few hours to live. I'd go get a steak at Marble.
Ooh, okay.
Popular answer.
How are you ordering this steak?
Yes.
Me, medium plus.
Okay.
Okay. What sides? What sides?
Foodies.
Mashed potatoes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a basic. I'm a basic eater.
Okay.
Yeah, mashed potatoes.
Good
meat,
answer.
Meat and mashed potatoes.
Good. Marble's got a good steak.
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
Blake, you're doing it right, bud.
Okay. All right. Now, the
Goody.
other very serious question. But you've answered this in many ways throughout. I'd just love to hear your direct answer to this. For you, Shannon, what does a stronger, better Kokomo look like?
Stronger, better Kokomo. Support each other. Definitely
Yeah.
support.
Yeah.
Support local businesses. Because, like you said, there's a lot of entrepreneurs. There's a lot of people in this community.
There sure are.
That are, I guess, they start a business and then they have to compete with the big box stores or things like that. And I mean, the community needs to step behind those people.
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay.
I love that. I feel like I've heard that answer phrased in different ways.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, generally it's from our nonprofit sector who often answer in that way. And which is really sort of interesting coming from a business owner, because we often hear, hey, we need to link arms together, which is a natural answer coming from like a social service organization. But to hear that and to hear sort of that need, but also that heart behind that, to like, hey, we got to work together to make this.
Yeah, we got to work together.
Right? Like support each other, take
Sometimes-
care of each other.
Yeah, sometimes people are just nasty towards each other on Facebook, and just different. Put politics aside, put those things that at the end of the day, a lot of that don't matter.
Yeah.
When you're with your community, you just got to support each other.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Support each other and help. If people come to me for help or advice or something like that, they might even be a competing business.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's a Kokomo business.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. It's kind of that concept of a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like when one of us is better, if we're helping each other, we're all getting better.
All better.
Yeah. Kind of moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we cannot thank you enough for your time today.
It was exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, great conversation, some great takeaways. And thank you for joining us for this episode of the Kokomo Post Podcast. We will be sure to link all of the places that you can find Shannon, all of the places that you can find Gravity Trampoline Park in the show notes. And thanks again for joining us. We will talk to you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.